For most of human history, our world has been built with stuff we dig out of the ground or forge in fire. Steel, concrete, and of course, plastic. But what if the next great leap forward isn't about what we can make, but what we can grow? Today, we're diving deep into the amazing world of sustainable biocomposites. So let's just start with this one, big question. What if our strongest, smartest, and most sustainable materials weren't actually made in a factory, but were grown in a field or maybe harvested from the sea? And look, this isn't science fiction anymore. It's the cutting-edge reality of what we call bio-based materials. To really wrap our heads around this revolution, really, we have to start with the basics. So let's break down what we even mean when we say bio-based materials. Okay, so simply put, bio-based materials come from renewable living things. Think plants, animals, even tiny little microorganisms. We're talking about tapping into the fundamental building blocks of life itself, like the cellulose that makes a tree stand tall, or the chitin that you find in the shell of a shrimp.
Now, this is super important because it's a point that trips a lot of people up. Bio-based does not automatically mean biodegradable. Think of it this way. Bio-based tells you its origin story, where it came from, right? Renewable stuff. Biodegradable, on the other hand, tells you its final chapter. It can be broken down by microbes. You could have a bio-based plastic made from corn that won't break down in your backyard compost. Getting this distinction is absolutely key.
So, the big question is, how do we get from a plant, or say a shrimp shell, to some kind of high-performance material? Well, this is where it gets really cool. We're talking about turning what we used to think of as waste into wonder. Let's kick things off with cellulose. This stuff is the single most abundant organic polymer on the entire planet. It's basically nature's favorite building material. It's the stuff that gives plants their structure, which means it is packed into all the agricultural waste, things like wood chips and corn stalks that we usually just throw away. So how do we unlock all that potential? Well, it's a really clever bit of chemistry. First, you treat the plant waste to strip away all the extra stuff, like waxes. Then you purify it into a pure cellulose pulp. But here's the magic trick. That pulp then gets processed to create these microscopic, nano-sized crystals that are, pound for pound, stronger than steel. Yeah, you heard that right. Tiny, but unbelievably strong. All right, our next wonder material comes from a place you probably wouldn't expect: shrimp and crab shells. Seriously. Chitin is a biopolymer that we get from chitin, which is a huge component of crustacean shells, which also happens to be a massive waste stream from the food industry. And the process to get it is just as elegant. The shells get cleaned, ground up, then they get an acid bath to remove minerals and a base bath to remove proteins. What you're left with is pure chitin. One final chemical step and boom, you've transformed it into this incredibly versatile polymer, chitosan. Okay, so now we've got these incredible building blocks. Let's see what we can actually do with them. All right, so we've seen how these materials get made. Now for the real payoff. How are these biocomposites actually building a better, more sustainable future for all of us, like right now? Let's start in a field where performance and safety are literally a matter of life and death: medicine. This is where the sheer versatility of these materials just blows your mind. We're talking about smart drug delivery systems that can literally hunt down and target specific cells in the body. We're talking about tissue engineering scaffolds that provide a framework for our own bodies to regrow bone and cartilage. We're even talking about antimicrobial wound dressings that fight infection and help us heal faster. And the real game changer? Because they come from nature, our bodies tend to accept them, not reject them. Okay, so from healing our bodies, let's jump to powering our world. The applications for this stuff are popping up in completely unexpected places, like high-performance energy storage. Now, don't let this table of numbers intimidate you, because the story it tells is just incredible. What you're looking at is how different types of biomass, everything from wheat bran to silkworm cocoons, are being turned into high-tech electrodes for supercapacitors. And just look at the performance. We're seeing high capacitance and amazing stability. Some of these materials keep over 96% of their capacity after thousands of charge cycles. This is nature-derived tech going toe-to-toe with traditional materials and winning. And of course, maybe the biggest promise of all for bio-based materials is their potential to help us clean up our planet and build a truly circular economy. This is where the impact could just be massive. Think about it. Advanced packaging made from PLA. That's a plastic made from cornstarch that's fully compostable.
or biorefineries that turn farm waste into fuel. There are even materials called hydrogels and biochar that basically act like super sponges, pulling pollutants right out of our water. We are fundamentally redesigning how our products are made to work with nature, not against it. Now, as exciting as all of this is, let's be honest, we're not quite living in a perfect bio-based world just yet. It's really important to take a hard look at the real-world hurdles that we still need to get over. So, there are a few major challenges. First up, cost. Petroleum-based plastics have had a century-long head start, and they're just incredibly cheap to make. Second, there's scale. It's one thing to make something work in a lab, but it's a monumental challenge to scale that up to an industrial factory. Then you have consistency. Every single batch has to perform exactly the same. And finally, you've got to build reliable supply chains to get all that biomass. These are the tough problems that scientists and engineers are working on right now. But even with those challenges, the path forward is becoming crystal clear. The future of materials is looking a whole lot greener, a whole lot smarter, and definitely more biological. I want to leave you with this really powerful quote from our source material. Bio-based materials will become the base of civilization, as it was in primitive ages, with more variety and novelty. Just think about that for a second. It's this profound idea that our most advanced future might actually look a lot like our most ancient past. A full circle return to building our world with nature, only this time with all the incredible tools of modern science. So, it leaves us with a final, fascinating question to think about. As we keep unlocking the incredible potential that's hidden away inside of plants, shells, and microbes, what part of our world, from our own bodies to our massive cities, are we going to choose to rebuild first?